What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me for another video. It's your host, Crypto Glenn. Wow, we got a lot to talk about here with Bitcoin falling at a little bit of a trend that we had going on over the weekend. I just want to take some time here and zoom in on this and see if we can kind of get an understanding of what's happening here. So a couple days ago, we were talking about Bitcoin that actually entered into this ascending triangle. However, gave me a little pause for concern because prior to it entering into this ascending triangle, we had actually been in an ascending channel. These normally break to the downside, and it's not really all that common that Bitcoin, when it forms an ascending triangle, will actually break to the downside. But when it is paired with a bearish chart pattern such as a ascending channel, we normally like to take the measured move to the downside. And as you can see here, this yellow line actually marks where our price target would have been, and you see we actually came down and we touched that around $28,078. So Bitcoin currently falling out of that trend, and I would say that I'm surprised, but I'm not really, because again, we came down here, we touched this 50-day EMA on the daily, and anytime, you know, if you guys are paying attention to these kind of oscillators and indicators, this 50 EMA is a good rule of thumb to try to trade by. As long as you can stay above the 50 EMA, you're normally going to be in good shape. If you start to fall below it, close, and actually start to get a confirmation candle below the 50, that's when I would be a little bit concerned. Ideally, I think that somewhere down the line, we could potentially retrace back to this $25,000 range here. This is why I have this maroon box. The thing that I'm paying attention to now is I'm seeing how we're actually bouncing off of support. I want to see exactly where Bitcoin closes today in the next 2 hours and 15 minutes, with it being May. If you guys have been following me on Twitter, you know I've been talking about this sell in May and walk away. So for us to be in May and Bitcoin actually behaving as it is now, I wouldn't be surprised if May was a little bit of a bearish month. Again, keep in mind, people have been making profits all year up until this point. A lot of them kind of want to sell, get out of the market, take that money, enjoy their summer. So again, if you start to see Bitcoin really retrace significantly down here, maybe even sub 25, don't really get too shocked. Just understand that ideally you're going to be able to get some of your favorite cryptocurrencies at a really good price. It's all kind of according to the plan. And also keep in mind that this week is going to be a busy week for financial markets. I'm going to do a separate video on that just because I think it's a little bit more detailed in its information. And really, we're seeing the same thing with Ethereum as well. Ethereum, as you saw here today earlier, definitely started to fall out of the support that it was in. Currently found support here at 1805, and this kind of goes back to a number of weeks ago. We were actually charting Ethereum, so this is really coming in as a official line of support for Ethereum, and it's good to see that we actually found support at 1800 and then started to build off of that. Ideally, again, I'd like to see potentially where do we come back, as Ethereum right now is in oversold territory. Maybe it may not be a bad idea if we come down here to the lower time frames and see if it makes sense to take maybe even a short long on this. Keep in mind that if you're on the 4 hour, you're pretty much going to be trading this all the way, you know, from now until, you know, the next handful of hours. On the long side, maybe the next day and a half, 2 days, if it even takes that long. Ideally, if you move down to, like, say the 15, the 30, the 45, this is going to be intraday trading. So from now, it's what, 5:45 going on 6 o'clock here. You could potentially be in this trade until the very wee hours of the morning. So keep in mind that, hey, you know what, even though we're starting to find support coming off of 1800, the volume is tapering off, but we are still, again, in oversold territory. So that's why, to me, it might make a little bit of sense just to try to see if you can get a little bit of a long here. Now, I'll be honest, the kind of long that you might be looking for, it's not going to be, you know, a 16, you know, % move, right? It's not going to be anything like that. You're pretty much looking at a 25, a quarter of a %, right? Now, keep in mind, if you're using leverage with your trade, 25, a quarter of a % times 10, that's 2.5%. And you can, you know, you can definitely make some decent money with that. Again, you're not trying to hit home runs in these kind of scenarios. You're really just trying to make solid contact with the ball. What I'm going to do here is drop down to some of these shorter time frames, see exactly where we at. So maybe in the 15, you know, you're a little bit overbought. Yeah, I would say over the next 4 hours, you know, it's, again, I'd be looking at this until 8, maybe even 12 in the morning. See if we can get a little bit of a pump to kind of take us out of this negative trend that we're in now. Because again, if we're just kind of doing some quick TA on this, Looks like we're in a little bit of a descending channel. That's great. These tend to break to the upside. And if in fact it does, you know, your potential price point, these normally break out at around 70% once the channel, you know, the channel's been filled around 70%. So that could potentially put us at, you know, just under $1,830. Again, you're not really trying to hit a home run. You're just trying to make small contact with the ball. Now, I get for some people that risk to reward ratio is not going to be enough. But to people that don't necessarily mind sitting down, paying attention to the chart, and just being present in their trade, this is something that could definitely be beneficial with them. So we're actually just going to go ahead and mark that. I'm going to do this for historical context. Essentially, that would be our price target, at least one of them. We could, in fact, get here, and then depending on what the technicals look like, you know, you might even push a little bit above that. But I'd definitely be trying to take profit at around 18.31 if, in fact, I did open this long. 100% completely up to you. I'm just kind of giving the possibility of what could happen. It's not financial advice, but I do encourage you to do your own research and see if you arrive at the same scenario. And if you do take the trade, and, you know, we'll revisit this in a number of hours and see exactly how it's panned out. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Again, it's not really a whole lot to talk about right now. You know, Bitcoin is just kind of going through a little bit of a turbulent time period. Again, you kind of see our measured move actually played out from the ascending triangle. And again, these don't break to the downside very often, but when they do, you know, you just need to be aware of it. So boom, price target was hit, found resistance, bounced off. Found support, bounced off that support. And now we could potentially be seeing Bitcoin make a return to the upside here just a little bit as Bitcoin 2 is in oversold territory. And again, where would I like to see Bitcoin kind of make its way up to? If I'm zooming out here, let's see, potentially I'd like to see Bitcoin kind of make a return somewhere, you know, somewhere in this area right here. It's got immediate support going back to April of last year. So 28,320, we could potentially see that. And let's check and see how our volume is doing. Volume is kind of tapering off, so obviously you're going to need to see more volume coming up with these buys. But if you can get the buying volume, yeah, you might be able to see that price range that we had just mentioned here. Now the price range even being 28,506, you know, once you make it past 28,000, you know, 300 area. So kind of keep in mind, we'll mark that and just kind of pay attention to it. But that's going to do it for this video. Any questions, comments, or concerns, cryptos that you all want to see, leave them in the comment section below. We're going to go ready to go live on TikTok here and just kind of hang out with the community over there. So appreciate you all for joining, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.